Hi guys, so today I'm going to be showing you the last 10 books that I read. So I actually filmed the last video like 3 weeks ago and I've already read 10 books because this is the best time to read books in quarantine. So I've been like just reading non-stop and I found so many good amazing books and I'm so excited. If you're new here, I will have a playlist down below with all my other book club videos. Every 10 books I film a video and tell you guys a quick summary of the book and my review. I give you guys a quick rundown of like a summary plot of the book, but I don't give you any spoilers. As always, if you have any comments on these books, if you've read them, let me know. This is just like a big group chat book club. I love getting comments. I got so many like amazing comments on the last video. It made me so happy. I had to open my curtain for lighting and I really don't want my landlord to look in and see me doing this because it's kind of embarrassing. So the first book that I read is American Dirt by Jeanine Cummins. I loved this book so much. It was so amazing. I didn't want to finish it. It's about this woman that lives in Mexico with her husband and her son and her whole family, and the drug cartel is after her because her husband pissed them off. So basically it just follows her journey going to America and like jumping on and off of trains and like getting across the border and stuff, and it's so amazing, so eye-opening. So I would definitely recommend this book. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did, but I think it was the characters, especially the main character. I loved the main character and her son and their bond, and anyway, I just really loved this. The next book is a Lisa Jewell novel. She is one of my favorite authors. This is The Family Upstairs. I think this is her most recent one, perhaps. So basically in this story there's this house and all of a sudden like some dead bodies showed up and nobody really knew what was going on in the house. They don't know who lived there, but it looked like it was a bunch of different families, kind of like a weird living situation. And there were kids that did live there, but they couldn't find them. They were just like not there. I'm not explaining this good. It's a Lisa Jewell novel, so it's told between the perspectives of a couple of different people and in completely different years. And then as you read, you see how the different perspectives intertwine and like meet up. And I just love Lisa Jewell. She's done it again. This was amazing. Hi! I also wanted to say, so in this book I was really curious about the way they were describing this home because it was like a mansion. So sometimes when I'm reading a book I like Google like the city that it was based in so I can kind of get like a feel of like how to imagine it and like the vibes. So it keeps mentioning the street name in London in this book, so I looked up the street name and I actually found that it's a real house, and I saw pictures of it and it was crazy. So I would definitely recommend that tip, not just for this book but any book, because then I kind of can understand what the author is, like the vibes. I don't know, does anyone else do that? The next book that I read was also a Lisa Jewell one because I loved that one and I just wanted to read another one, and it's The House We Grew Up In. I wasn't expecting to connect to this book as much as I did, but I kind of connected to the main character that everyone like, she was like kind of crazy because she was like a hoarder and really protective over her things and objects, and I kind of have struggles with that. Again, it's told between a couple of different perspectives in a couple of different times. Basically it's about this family. It's a family of 6. There's 4 kids. Basically the mom hoards and collects things, and just her kids don't agree with like how messy the house is and it's not clean and stuff. It goes throughout the years of the house getting more and more cluttered, and then there's like a tragedy and it just kind of changes the family. And it was good, but there wasn't really like a problem and then a solution. Like normally, you know, there's a clear goal of the book or a problem, like they're trying to solve something, fix something, and there was one, but it wasn't like huge. So I did enjoy this, but the plot was kind of weak, I found. Okay, the next book is The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware, and I love Ruth Ware. She is one of my favorite authors along with Lisa Jewell, and I was super excited when I realized that I had this book because it was on my like want to read list on Goodreads, and then I realized that I had it. So this was an incredible, absolutely amazing book. I haven't read a book like this in a long time. So basically it's about, they tell you the beginning of the story at the end. So there was like a tragedy, a child died in the nanny's care, and The nanny is writing a letter to a lawyer saying, I did not do this, it was not me, but she got arrested for it and was in jail. So basically she just writes a letter to her lawyer explaining everything that happened, and that's what the book is. It's basically this girl finds this job for a nanny position and they're paying like £50,000 a year, which is a lot, especially for a nanny. So she applies and she gets the job, and it's at this like super like big house. It's like all like a smart house kind of thing, and you don't actually know her motives for wanting to be their nanny until like the end of the book, and it's like crazy, and it's got so many plot twists, so many things I didn't see coming. I don't know, she writes such a good thriller, and when I first knew that like there's like a thriller genre, I was like, how could you be reading a book and be like scared and like on the edge of your seat? But it's so totally possible, and I kept finding myself like in the middle of an intense moment just like jumping like throughout the page because I just so badly wanted to know what was going to happen. This is such a good book. I mean, I read most of these in like 2 or 3 days, but this was one of the really fast ones because I just needed to know what was going on. So this is like one of the highly recommended ones. The next book is called The Wives by Taryn Fisher. I ordered it online and I was really excited because it seems intriguing. So it's about this woman who has a husband, but his husband also has 2 other wives, and they just share the husband, and so they each have like separate days, and they've never met each other. They don't know each other's names or anything about each other, and they have like rules. So she has this husband on like 2 days of the week, and then he goes off and stays with other wives on other days. But basically I guess she gets like insecure and jealous, so she decides she's gonna go digging and looking for the other ones, and it's crazy. It was so good, but I will say the ending sucked. Not highly recommended. It was good. It was very infuriating at one point because the husband was trying to say that the wife was like crazy and got her locked in a psych ward, which really pissed me off. But anyway, it could have been so good. It had such potential, but then all of a sudden took a turn, and there's just so many plot holes, and I'm not happy with the ending. So the next book is also by Ruth Ware, and it's called The Lying Game. I had to read that almost immediately after I read the last Ruth Ware one because it was just so good. And this one was not as good. It was good, and I still do miss the characters for some reason. I don't know why I really liked these characters, but you know, the story, the plot twist at the end, it wasn't like groundbreaking. Basically, there's these 4 friends that met in boarding school when they were teenagers, and then like this big thing happens and they all have this big secret together, and they don't talk for a while, don't see each other for a while, and then one day one of the friends texts, I need you, and so they all come to her place. They're told this like piece of news, and the whole time you don't really know what's going on, you don't know what the secret is. And then there's just like a bunch of twists and turns at the end, and it keeps going back and forth between their perspectives when they were in school, like when they're teenagers, and then their perspectives when they're like older and they've been called and like this big thing happens. I did really like the vibes because it takes place in England and it's like on the coast, so they're near the water. It was like kind of like a small town like kind of feel where everyone knew everyone, and I liked that vibe. Yeah, I would recommend it. I feel like I didn't get the closure that I wanted on this book, but it was still like an enjoyable read. Okay, the next book is called An Anonymous Girl, and it's got 2 authors, which is really interesting. I don't understand how that would work, but my mom told me that this book was really, really good, so I was super excited to read it, and it was. So basically there's this girl, she's a makeup artist in New York, and she sees this ad, you can get $500 if you just take part in this like psychological survey. I think it's a study on morality and stuff like that. She enters in, but then this psychologist conducting the study wants her to do like more and more experiments for more and more money, and she just gets kind of roped in. But then things get kind of weird, and she starts getting her to do these really weird experiments that the girl just like can't understand why she would need her to do this for a study. Anyway, so it ends up in like a really crazy situation. It's super like, obviously it's like a psychological like thriller type. The girl in the study starts to not like trust the psychologist, and she starts to just not really trust anyone around her because all these things keep happening. and basically she has to like go against the psychologist. Also, I cannot remember what happened at the end, but I feel like it was like where you're like, wait, there's no more, like that's all we know. The next book is The Outsider by Stephen King. So I was super excited to read this because I've never read a Stephen King novel before. Also nervous because it's like 600 pages. The plot was really cool. Basically there's this murder that takes place and there's like 6 eyewitnesses that see this guy, this same guy, like in the area, in the same vehicle at the same time that this murder took place, and then they've got this guy's DNA in the vehicle and stuff, so like it's pretty obvious that it was this guy that did this murder. So they arrest him, but then the guy was like, no, I have an alibi. I was out of town at like a conference thing, so like, and like I would never do this. So I did enjoy it. I think I still read it in like 4 days. I enjoyed it and I respect that it was good, but it's not really my style, like the Stephen King style, but I think I am gonna read like The Shining and a couple others because like I like it, but it's just like not my favorite genre. Does that make sense? I can appreciate like that it's really good. Also, it kind of like, it didn't need to be 600 pages. I think that's like his style, but there's just so many little details and bits and conversations and little things that didn't relate to the story, and like we didn't need. I feel like that's kind of the whole point of his book, is because you just really want to figure out what happens. This next novel is called I See You by Claire McIntosh. I really liked this one. This is just like a random one that my mom gave me and I thought I'd give it a go. So basically it's about this woman. She's on a train and she is looking at the newspaper and she sees a advertisement for a website called findtheone.com, and then the picture was a picture of her. So she takes it home and her family's like, it might not be her. You know, why would your picture be in the newspaper? What is this website anyway? The website doesn't really work. You need a password. So she just tries to like put it out of her mind. But then the next day she sees an article for this woman who her keys were stolen on the train. But then she notices that that woman's face was in the paper, in the advertisement, like a couple days before her keys were stolen. And then there's a person that was murdered. And they see that this girl, a couple days before she was murdered, it was her face in the newspaper. So obviously this girl that found her face was freaking out, like, it's been 2 weeks, like what is it gonna be that happens to me? It's also told from the perspective of a cop, which I really thought was cool because you get to see the perspective of the girl, like the victim of whatever this crime is, but then you also see the side of the cop and what they're doing to investigate and behind the scenes stuff. So that was really neat. It was really cool, and I put a whole bunch more of her books on my list, like reading list, because I really like the style. Okay, and then the last book is called Our House by Louise Candlish. My mom gave me this and I think the dog might have gotten to it. I finished this book last night. I feel like I get like a warm-up of all these summaries because I always tell my boyfriend the summary, and like I tell him the ending too because he's never gonna read them. And he gets so into them, but he was really into this one when I started it. He was always asking for updates and stuff. So this book, literally from the first sentence, you are right into it, which is what I like. I don't want like 20 pages of like just them chit chat and you're like, what's gonna happen? So basically this woman gets on her street and sees that somebody else is moving into her house. All her things are gone and they're moving in, and she's like, what are you doing? And they're like, we just bought this house, like it's ours. And she's like, my house was not even for sale, what's going on? At the same time, she notices that her ex-husband has just completely disappeared. Her kids were supposed to be with him, but they're with his mom. He's just gone, his phone's out of service, and it's pretty quickly becomes apparent to her that her husband is involved and the house was able to sell because he signed papers and stuff because he owned half the house. But then, and there's other people involved and it's crazy. I really enjoyed it. I'm gonna look into this author more because I really enjoyed the style. I think most of these books took place in England, so I guess I like British writers. Anyway, I finished it last night and it was really good, but once again, I almost missed it, but right at the end there's something that it just is like bam, and you're like, fuck. And I was so annoyed. Like I just couldn't accept that it was done. That is book club number 6. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, please leave me your thoughts, leave me book recommendations, give me like your opinions on these books if you read them. Thank you guys so much for watching. If this is your first time here, please subscribe. It would mean a lot to me, and give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you next time.